Oh, welcome. I almost had that good thing in the bag. Leo came in at the end. Hey, everyone.
Leo came in perfectly.
I did. That was
right at the end. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Leo Luna, who's been here waiting for about an hour. We got Jose Sanchez, Jackhammer, and Maverick, who's in the power position. I love you, Maverick, but we're gonna have to switch. Nice. We're here to talk about a lot of things with the Niners. They're supposed to play a game tomorrow, although I have my doubts. So we're going to preview that because they may play the Packers eventually, and we should talk about it just in case they play them tomorrow. But first, I want to talk about the breaking news. The New York Giants did the impossible. Apparently, they don't watch us. The Niners do. David Gettleman doesn't. They picked up Dante Pettis. And my question for you, Maverick, is are you freaking surprised?
I'm not that surprised just because the Giants aren't that great of a team right now. I was talking to you guys a little before. I remember Gettleman scouting Justin Herbert. The Giants were interested in Herbert before when he did not come out, and they ended up taking Daniel Jones. So they were familiar with Pac-12 football. They probably saw Pettis a lot, and he's worth a flyer. They don't really have any threatening punt returners. If you watch the Monday night game, they weren't even sending someone back there. Jabril Peppers was playing kind of a safety role on punt returns, and they had no one back there. So it's worth a flyer. They have 2 injury-prone receivers and 1 deep threat, and then a bunch of unproven guys. Might as well send Pettis out there.
I hope they don't send this. I hope they don't send him out there this week. Leo, what's up?
Did Mav just call Dante Pettis a threat on punt return?
Hey, we saw him on kick returns.
I'm saying from college what their impression of him would be.
Ryan Leaf was a threat in college as well. So
No. He's right. Dante is a threat. He's a threat to hurt the team. His own team.
Jose, this is my time. All right.
Yeah, Leo.
You're next.
Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised. Like, he's a pretty good route runner. You get him into space, he may be able to make things happen. Like, he put up Grant, don't give me that look. He put up 500 yards as a rookie in the NFL, and he had a quarterback that can throw consistently 15 yards downfield. So I don't see it as a surprise. Giants, they need a receiver. Maybe he can have Golden Tate teach him to be a little bit of tough, but just not against Jalen Ramsey, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all because I feel like half of the fix was in with Dante Pettis because of Kyle Shanahan. I think we covered this like a week or two ago about, hey, was Pettis given like a fair shot? And I don't think he was totally given a fair shot, even though the little bit of opportunities he did get, he fumbled it literally like on kickoff. So I just don't think I'm not shocked by any slight of the imagination. Maybe a little bit shocked by Giants, but then like Maverick mentioned, like, oh well, they had an eye out for him. Maybe even Joe Judge, special teams guy. So that's what they saw and everything. So yeah, I'm totally not surprised.
I mean, must have been high in the waiver wire. They were like, ooh.
Yeah, so they're like one of the first few claims. So that's
Jack, what do you
wow.
think?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he was picked up. He's an okay player that has some potential. He was a second-round pick, and it was clear that the 49ers were looking to trade him. That's probably why they let him play last week. And they kind of, there were times early in the game where he was when they were in 22 personnel, and he was the only receiver on the field. So that was part of them trying to showcase him to try to get a trade for him. Same reason why they put him back on the kick return.
I saw that he was in the game too, and he was running like jet sweep motions, which always cracks me up. It's like everyone in the world knows the Niners aren't going to give him the ball. Like, I guess the defense is supposed to react to it, but come on, like it's Dante Pettis. Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I thought that there was like some word out around the league that there was something going on with him, that like he wasn't really into football. Like maybe not, I guess not. I mean, it seems like David Gettleman is looking at like, I don't really care what happened the last 2 weeks. I had a nice grade on him. He was good as a rookie. Let's give him one more chance. I'm surprised. It seems like that's a good thing though. Good for Dante Pettis. I hope it works out for him because a guy who can show something as a rookie probably has some talent. And I think the reason that he fell apart, I don't know. It's either partly his own problems and partly Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy last year became a not a downfield thrower at all. Like he just throws intermediate and short passes. That's not Dante Pettis' game. Maybe he'll do better with Daniel Jones. I'm sincerely rooting for him. Dante, good luck. And now I have a second Dante Pettis question before we get into the other things. What took the Niners so long to finally release him? it seemed like he's been in their doghouse a real long time. I mean, when they didn't suit him up for the Super Bowl, then they trotted him out for training camp and let him go sit in front of on the podium and talk about how he was going to have redemption. And what took them so long, Jack?
He was a second round draft pick, and it's similar to a scholarship guy. They're going to give him as many chances as they can to fail before they're going to cut him. And on top of that, I think they were trying to trade him. They were trying to get something in return for him instead of just letting him go for free. And I think that's really what took so long. And I agree with you. I really hope he does well out in New York.
I think it took them a while because they're trying to save face a little bit, because if they traded up for him so high, second round pick. And I think initially even that was a head scratcher to some folks. The fact that it's like, hey, he handpacked. Oh, there you go for Cohn Grant right there. I think that's a big reason why, is because Shannon does not want to look wrong. He wants to look so that way he can pound his check like, yeah, baby, let's go. Dante Pettis worked out. The same reason, which I'm sure they're doing internally about Jason Verrett, is why they kept force feeding us down his throat in training camp, even though he didn't look as great in training camp as some other, media members like to say. He looked all right, but he's really stepped it out now. But anyways, yeah, I think it's because just to save face. That's why it took him forever. And I think the point got, you know what? Can't trade this guy. It's over. He's a lost cause. Let's just the hell with it.
Yep.
I think it took a while because they tried to trade him in the offseason. Nothing materialized. They were short at wide receiver come week 1, so they decided, hey, let's give this guy a shot. Maybe a trade target can materialize if he's able to go out there, put up numbers. It was clear he didn't put up anything. So that's why he went unsuited for a while. And then once he was active once again against the Seahawks and did
Sorry, I shouldn't throw those in like mid-answer, but yeah, my bad. He paid $5. I got to put it on there.
Oh, absolutely.
What's up, Sean?
And so it's basically once he did completely nothing against the Seahawks and then decided to dive into the ground like if he was covering a grenade, the 49ers said, all right, like this guy can't even return kicks for us now, so we're going to go ahead and cut ties.
I think a big issue just mid-season, I think like Leo was saying, they had injuries early on, so they had to keep him in the fold. But until really Sunday, there was hope they would beat the Seahawks. And there's always that worry that once you cut a guy, that Seattle's going to grab him right away. How many times has that happened in the last 10 years?
Great point.
And
great point.
They would have, we don't know how much Dante Pettis really knows about the playbook because he didn't get to play a lot, but he would give Seattle an advantage in that sense. And then also just going back to the Giants thing a little bit, they do have Corey Coleman on their practice squad, so they're not afraid to get busts that did not work out at their previous location and see what happens. So that could be another reason why they just are giving Pettis a flyer.
The original question was, are you surprised? What took the Niners so long? What took the Niners so long to pull the trigger on this? And what Jack said was, well, they were trying to trade him. They might want to build up his value. And it seemed like they were trying to do that during training camp, but they didn't play him in the Super Bowl. They gave him one target all season. They didn't do a very good job of building up his value. Maybe they felt that actually playing him would only hurt his value. And after seeing that kick return, there's probably something to that. But there was no real campaign to say Dante Pettis is playing great in practice like they did with Jason Verrett. It just seemed like they kind of ruined his trade value and kind of embarrassed him, borderline humiliated him, especially in the Super Bowl. And now they held on to him way long. He shouldn't have made the 53-man roster. I don't think.
Nah.
If this is what the plan was, to give him one target and be like, nah, he still stinks. So if you're just going to end up cutting him, I felt like the Niners were a little indecisive on this one. They should have shown the conviction they showed with Joe Williams, Sorry. Kind of similar. I
was happy about that Joe Williams pick, I just got to say.
Me too. I liked him. He ran for 8,000 yards against the UCLA in one game.
Yeah. And that wasn't the only team he ran for 8,000 yards against either.
Yeah. All right. That's enough of Dante Pettis. He's history. Dante, it was really a pleasure covering you. But we have bigger issues here with the Niners. I'm going to stick with breaking news. This was earlier this morning that Kendrick Bourne has tested positive for COVID-19. And here's the situation. They don't know if other people have COVID-19 on the team. He's been put on the COVID-19 reserve. They're doing contact tracing to see who he's been in contact with. They practiced last night. He was in the huddles. There's a possibility that other people are going to test positive tomorrow morning, the day of the game. And depending on how many people test positive. If they test positive, this game may or may not happen on time. It could get postponed. So my little wild card question for you guys is, do you think the 49ers are secretly hoping that this game gets postponed? Maverick.
Well, without Aaron, or if Aaron Jones doesn't play, I think the 49ers have a chance, and they are also going to be without Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon. So if you're saying just because their personnel is injured and the Packers aren't as injured, I think the 49ers have a better chance tomorrow than they would Sunday if Aaron Jones would then be healthy. But overall, are we talking about if it should be postponed, or is
no? Just curious. It's an unanswerable question, but do you think the 49ers want the game to be postponed, and do you think they would benefit from it being postponed? Maybe that's a more answerable question. Would they benefit from a postponement of this game?
No, I think they're just going to run. I think they have to run the ball, and I think on Thursday Night Football, that's when you do run the ball. It's a short week, and physicality usually wins in that sense, and I think that's how the 49ers win, is if they run the ball a lot. JaMychal Hasty gets touches. Walter and Jerick McKinnon's tired legs get a couple touches. We'll see what happens.
Good answer.
I like how you threw that tired legs in there. So smooth. Exactly. But no, I don't think they really benefit anything from this, or if they would even want this to happen, because they're going to be without Aaron Jones, they're going to be without Jamal Adams, and they're going to be without their second-round rookie draft pick as well. So the 49ers aren't the only ones being affected by this, and we could argue that Aaron Jones getting more time to be out on the field is more important to the Packers than what Kendrick Bourne would be to get onto the field.
Yeah, I don't think they would want at this point to be postponed. It really just depends on who else tests positive. But assuming it's like, oh, it's just Kendrick Bourne, no one else really got tested positive for it. Because exactly for the notes you guys mentioned, Aaron Jones, man, that is a big time return for them, especially without no Jamal Williams, who already had their own COVID case of their own. So I think, yeah, exactly what Maverick hit on the head. Just keep running the football and then setting up Nick Mullins in a perfect position to where he's actually going to take advantage of those receivers, well, the two receivers that are going to have active tomorrow if it does go on, that he will be open and hit it, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I think the 49ers want this game to be played tomorrow. And the reason for it is because the Packers are coming off of 2 losses. They're having to make this trip on a short week after losing. And I really think this sets up well for the 49ers. So I think they really want to get this game in if they can.
That's interesting, because when I posed this question, I was thinking like, well, no Kendrick Bourne. I mean, no Dante Pettis. They're coming off 2 road trips. The Niners must be exhausted too. They're beat up. They don't even have a starting flanker right now on the roster. It would make sense. It might, if they could just postpone the game entirely and have a little bye week now and then play in New Orleans and have a second bye week, I think they would take it. I mean, maybe the coaches are thinking, we got them where we want this game. But the players, I'm thinking the players are like, please, I don't want to play Thursday Night Football. Players don't want to play Thursday Night Football anyway. But if you could see like, hey, we might get a bye week, I would be into that. But I don't have the football players' temperament anyway. These guys are crazy. Maybe they really do want to play football. And you guys all made great arguments for why the Niners this sets up well for them now. I mean, Thursday night game where the road team has to travel cross country. Usually they make these Thursday night games like close, like Niners and Raiders, Niners and Seahawks. It's tough. So you guys kind of swayed me on that one. But I bet you if the game gets postponed, a few players are going to be like, yes. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let's stick with this game and then go big picture later, because I'm interested in this game and it may not happen. So if we don't talk about it today, we may never talk about it. Who is going to start opposite Brandon Ayuk in this freaking game, Jack?
Ross Raleigh.
Yeah, I like that. A+ answer.
I see them coming out with 22 personnel, and they can actually line up Dwelly out as a receiver with a young tight end inside, with Juszczyk and hopefully Hasty in the backfield, and really get close to what they'd be getting. They'd be getting exactly what the same thing as if Trent Taylor was on the field.
Real quick, that's a great answer, Jack. But you avoided the question, so I like that answer. It is the right answer. They should come out in 22 personnel. But so let me change it. When the Niners eventually get to a 2 wide receiver formation, who should be the number 2 receiver?
I think
who should be getting those snaps?
I think the only other receiver that's going to be out there is going to be Trent Taylor. River Craycraft is I think the third.
Well, Richie James Jr. has been limited all week. I don't know.
Yeah,
limited.
And if James can go, I would like to see how much he actually can play.
Okay.
It has to be Trent Taylor, and I think it might just be on the surface, like kind of the same way they do with Tevin Coleman or Raheem Mostert last year. It's like, hey, we give you the start, but we're really gonna probably implement Richie James Jr. here. I kind of wish Nick was here for this one because that would be a good one to talk about since that's his boy. But no, it's gonna be Trent. Although like I said, I've actually been a big proponent on Richie James Jr. dating back to last year. The guy actually runs pretty nice route. Oh God, not Kevin White. Actually runs pretty nice routes that people don't give credit to. And it's like another example of why doesn't Shannon give some opportunities to like some of these other players, younger players, whatever the case may be. That's so confusing and out of our realm of thinking, I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be Trent Taylor, and then it's just gonna be just a mix in of whoever is in there because overall I don't think it's gonna heavily utilize Taylor and Richie James Jr. that much anyways.
God, that's exciting. What do you think, Leo?
Unfortunately, it's going to be Trent Taylor. Too bad he can't grow overnight or something. That would definitely help out this football team. But this is what they're going to do. When he's out there in two receiver set, for the first time of the game, Brandon Ayuk and Trent Taylor are going to be on the same side. That's what their formation is going to be because they're going to try to get Trent Taylor into the slot a little more. But I think it should be River Craycraft. He's got 4 more inches on Trent Taylor. He's got a better body mass than Trent Taylor. I think, you should just give this guy a shot. I don't see it being Kevin White.
River Craycraft.
River.
When did River Craycraft go to college?
He went to Washington State. Come on.
Really?
Yes.
Man,
Pac-12, Magno.
So he's like he's like an OG.
He's from Santa Margarita, California. Come on.
What's his mom's name?
His mom is Candace.
That's okay. Fair enough.
Hey, if you had actually got this, like, damn, man, you're a little
all right. Okay.
He's actually Leo's cousin.
I mean, if he went to,
I was gonna say, damn, Leo, you're making Jamar Taylor jealous now. Come on.
Is he a rookie?
I know. No, he played for Denver previously.
Is he better than Aesop Winston? Because that guy is a baller.
That's a great question.
I don't know.
That's a
okay,
great
Maverick, you're
question.
I was also going to say River Craycraft. He had 20 touchdowns in 4 years at Washington State. They did run the air raid, so Mike Leach, he loves to throw the ball, but I think he's been dubbed a slot receiver when he's really an outside guy, and he's been good. And with Denver, I think they tried to make him a punt returner also, and that's not really what he was meant to be. He's an outside guy, and I think, it's not like I'm saying he's going to be a star receiver, but I think for one game he could provide a couple good plays. And with Nick Mullins, who likes to throw the ball, Craycraft averaged over 11 yards a catch all 4 years at Washington State. That's pretty good. But I think this all being said, Trent Taylor gets the start because he's the veteran.
Yeah, you're probably right. Look, real quick, Chrissy, she said, good luck, Dante. Cass is reopening on Broadway. Yeah, I don't think they're going to miss Dante. I don't really care. And then earlier, Sean was saying that he thinks that the Giants are hoping that Dante Pettis can be their Odell Beckham. Hey, yeah, maybe if you wish upon a star, that could happen, like Geppetto. But what was the question that we're talking about?
Who should start outside?
Oh, yeah, who should start? River Craycraft, clearly. No, I want to see Richie James start. I don't care that he's missed the last few games. He's coming off an injury. I don't care. I want to see Rich. Now, he's not a flanker, but when he's on the field, I want him to be the number 2 receiver with Brandon Ayuk. I really feel like Richie James Jr. is like the Ross Dwelly, the Jeff Wilson Jr. of his position group. Whenever he gets a chance, he makes a play. And he really never screws up. He just, for whatever reason, hasn't gotten up. We know the reason. He's a 6th, 7th round pick. Hasn't gotten the opportunities. Now he has to get them, as does Dwelly. And I'm kind of excited. I want to see these guys get 5 targets each. I want to see what Richie James Jr. can really do. In not a starter's role, but in a big role. I think he has deserved it. Even though he's coming off a injury, I want to see Richie James. It's Dwelly time. It's Richie James time. Too bad Jeff Wilson Jr. isn't playing. That's my favorite player of all time. It's like Bo Jackson, Jeff Wilson Jr. of all, 1, 2, 1A, 1B. So let's get into more topics about this game that probably isn't going to happen. What do the Niners have to do? What's the game plan against Aaron Rodgers? Last year, the game plan was Nick Bosa. Be Nick Bosa. Do your thing. Now they don't have Nick Bosa or Buckner or D Ford. So what if put on your Robert Saleh cap? What are you doing here to make sure you don't give up 30 points?
I think they have to pressure Rodgers against Tampa Bay, and Ndamukong Suh had a good game. The linebackers had good games blitzing, and I think that's what has to happen. Fred Warner, K1 Williams, Dre Greenlaw, they have to get some pressure, and that's the only way they can stop Rodgers himself. There's other ways to stop the other guys, but they have to get in Rodgers' face because that's the only way you can limit him.
Absolutely, but what I say that Saleh should do, he's probably not going to do. They're probably just going to run a bunch of cover 3, cover 1, and then Davante Adams is going to catch maybe 20 back shoulders for 200 yards. But you got to pressure Eric Rodgers.
Don't get ahead of ourselves. That's the next topic. I like what you're going there because the next topic is can the Niners cover Davante Adams? Let's with Rodgers.
Sorry, I forgot
Rodgers. That's okay.
Okay, what can they? They got to get to him. They got to frustrate him. They got to just make him give up. You noticed last year with Aaron Rodgers is it seemed like at a point he just got frustrated and gave up. The both times he faced the 49ers, and that's what you got to do. You got to make him frustrated and just say, all right, I'm done. I'm going to chalk this one up.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to say anything else other than just blitz and maybe even blitz more than you like to. Because, I mean, even though Robert Saleh is already doing that right now, but now you just got to really, really hit on it. Maybe even throw in some more DB blitzes so Rodgers can't pick up on it because your pass rush, your defensive line is not getting there. Eric Armstead's not getting there. You know, Carey Jr. probably has a better chance. And unless this is a game where Kinlaw actually explodes, then hey, you got to go bombs away, engage 8. I'm desperate for pass rush right now because that's your best chance. You're not going to sit and just try to blanket coverage these receivers, even though outside of Davante Adams, I don't think they really have anyone that's capable of it. But still, if you sit back for a quarterback like Rodgers and don't pressure him, that's exactly what he wants because then he might just take off with the ball anyways. And that was great that he wasn't able to utilize his legs last year because of the pass rush. He wasn't able to really go downfield because of the pass rush. So it's really got to be the heaviest game you got to do in terms of calling a blitz.
Jack?
I agree. If you look at the game, the first game last year, there was a lot of blitzing early on, and that blitzing out of the secondary was one of the big things that caused the fumble early on.
Force fumble, yep.
So, I'd like to see him probably do a lot of that same type of thing this year in this game. I think that we're definitely going to see Rodgers make some plays, and you expect that. But I don't think we're going to see anywhere near like the 400-yard game he had in 2018. So if they can keep him under 300 yards, I think they're going to have a really good shot at this.
See, if I were Robert Saleh, I'd be scared to blitz him. I mean, if my blitz doesn't get home and I'm playing like cover 1 behind it, I feel like Davante Adams going to have a one-on-one matchup against, I don't know, Jason Verrett or Emmanuel Mosley, and that's scary. Given what's happened this year with Metcalf and DeAndre Hopkins, they don't have that pass rush to just kind of overwhelm an offense. You got to bring pressure somehow. You got to hit Aaron Rodgers because if you hit him a few times in the first half, he could fold. If you don't hit him a few times in the first half, all of a sudden he gets in the second half. He's like, I'm the greatest quarterback of all time. Oh, yeah. And he'll kill you. So
just double check.
So, yeah, I mean, the way I think about it is you got to pick your spots with the blitzes. A great quarterback like that can beat blitzes if he sees it coming. Maybe like zone blitzes where you're dropping guys out and bringing other guys in and try to overload one side of your protection. But really what I would do is I would play a lot of 2-man. That's what Vic Fangio used to do, and I know he had a better pass rush to pull it off. But if you're playing 2-man, you're kind of doubling Davante Adams no matter where he goes. And I just would feel kind of nervous with Davante Adams one-on-one and Jimmy Ward in the middle of the field. Because you guys all love Jimmy Ward, and people say that he does great things, but you know he ain't getting over there to help anyone if it's Davante Adams. So I would play 2-man as much as possible, invite Aaron Rodgers to scramble, and then kill him. I mean, no, I'm sorry. YouTube moderators. I don't mean literally kill him. It's how you talk when you talk about
lay
football.
him out.
I'm just kidding. Lay him out. Come on. Go ahead.
Lay the hammer. Lay the jackhammer
Ryan.
on him.
That's right.
Look, what Fangio used to do was play 2-man in quarters and say, you got to check it down and you got to run, buddy. And I'm not going to give you easy one-on-one matchups. I don't know. You got to hit him, though. It's tough.
You know what? Maybe that is that. You know what? I kind of like that better because then at least if they got to recover, you have the speed of the linebackers to actually just limit that to maybe a 5-yard game at best. So I could definitely see that as
especially
option.
On third down, play 2-man. Maybe bring that pressure when he's not expecting it on first and second down.
And they shouldn't have a run game anyways. They shouldn't have a run game to help set him up with the the 4th-string running back.
All right, now let's get into Adams because we've seen what one great receiver can do to this team. And Adams played pretty well against the Niners last year. I mean, He had touchdowns. He had the long catch in the NFC Championship game. It's really that the Niners pass rush stifled this Packers offense from doing anything. And now that pass rush isn't there anymore. So can the Niners cover Davante Adams, or is he going to do what Hopkins and Metcalf did? Who's first?
Jack.
I think the 49ers are going to be fine with him. Adams is going to make a few plays, but I think we're going to see Mosley and Verrett do a much better job on him than we saw last week. He's a smaller guy, so it's not going to be quite that physical presence that they had to face last week. And nobody throws a better deep ball than Russell Wilson. And there was some good coverage on a couple of those deep passes that were caught. So I think they're going to be okay.
I'm right there with Jack. I wrote about it yesterday. I think they're better suited to guard someone like Davante Adams. And I think Davante Adams is one of my favorite watching wide receivers because how much finesse, how disrespectful he is with his route running and releasing. But you look at the wide receivers that they've really struggled with, Hopkins. I know, Hopkins kind of a little more branchier towards Adams, but especially Julio Jones last year and DK Metcalf last week. The one players that these guys cannot cover, just those big bodies, underratedly, deceptively speedy receivers like those two. And so very much at that point, you just need someone that can match up with them. And they don't, but at least they have a better matchup in terms with Adams. He's not too fast. It's just pretty much like just don't too much bite on what his head knots are or that plant foot. Don't fall for that false step that he likes to do to get corners bite on him. So I think in terms of matchup wise, this is better suited for them, and especially if they want to skew the looks in terms of like the coverage, the back in terms of like the safety or even switching Verrett on him. I think they're better suited, though. I wouldn't still shock me if he still explodes because I feel like when it gets to backyard football, if the pass rush doesn't get there, then that's when he's really dangerous because that's when him and Rodgers really had that connection.
Yeah. Leo.
So I feel like we shouldn't compare last year's 49ers team to this matchup. Yeah. Whether what they did to Julio Jones, to Davante Adams, or DK last year, we shouldn't, because I'm not too concerned about the initial route with Davante Adams. It's other guys are going to get open because if you don't give Rodgers pressure, he's not Goff, he's not Newton, he's not just going to throw that ball early within the play. He'll sit there and he'll let something develop. That's been his MO. Him and Wilson did the same thing on Sunday, and look what happened there. And so he'll sit there. Someone's eventually going to get open, like Marquise Valdez. He runs. Yeah, he runs like a 4.3. So if you give Rodgers 6 seconds to find somebody, I'm sure with his 4.3 speed, he's going to get open eventually. You could only cover them for so long. And then especially if you're playing zone all game, Rodgers is going to eventually figure you out, whether it's in the third or the fourth quarter, if you're not giving him a pass rush.
Yeah, you got to play some man against this guy. What's up?
I think there's a big issue if the Packers do what the Seahawks did last week and make it where DK Metcalf was on Emmanuel Mosley, make it where Davante Adams was on Emmanuel Mosley this Thursday. When I was watching it, 8 of DK Metcalf's catches, 11 targets, were on Mosley in coverage, and he was playing soft on him a lot. I think they had a couple of those out routes on the sidelines that converted, and then they obviously that long touchdown where Mosley was playing so far off him, he fell and was nowhere near him. And I think that's something they got to do with Adams. They put him on that side. If they want to switch Jason Verrett on side to side, that's good. But then you also have possibly Allen Lazard coming back, who in 3 games has 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good for a guy that not a lot of people know about. And I think if he's able to play, the Niners could be in trouble with those 2 wide receivers. And then, like Leo said, MVS playing, he's a burner and he can beat him too.
What I remember about Lazard and MVS is that they're big height, weight, speed guys that aren't necessarily good route runners. So if you're playing zone and you let Aaron Rodgers scramble around, those guys could just run through your defense. But if you just put someone on them, you should be okay. The way I look at Davante Adams is, again, like you said, I don't think that Emmanuel Mosley's coverage was terrible. It was just he got punked, right? I mean, he got punked. He's just not big enough to cover DK Metcalf, who's built like a tight end. He's not going to get punked by Davante Adams. Adams is significantly smaller. He's still bigger than Mosley, but not going to dominate him. And Mosley will be right there. I thought Mosley did a pretty good job against him last year. So if you play 2-man with a safety over the top and you let these 5'9" and 5'11" corners stay in their hip pocket in underneath trail coverage, that should be pretty good. And the thing about the Seahawks, that's different than the Packers is Robert Saleh said it yesterday. They came into that game geared up to stop Tyler Lockett because, as I said all week, that's the guy who had been killing teams. But the Seahawks have DK Metcalf too, and they understood what the Niners were going to do on defense. So they said, okay, this week we'll go to DK Metcalf. The Packers can't do that. I mean, it's not like they could be like, oh, we're going to have a Marquez Valdez-Scantling. No, he's not. No. So as long as you can just stop Devontae Adams and essentially double him, which is kind of what two-man is, doubled everywhere you go, you should be okay. Although the Niners are 7-point dogs for a reason. What's up, Jose?
I don't know why I failed to mention this because I wrote it in the article too. Adams operates from the slot too, so I think K1's definitely going to have a nice matchup with him. And if anything, he's the one I think best suited because he has no problem. It's almost like he's scrappy enough to get in there with Adams and won't let him like have his way and stuff like that. So I think that's another one that's going to be fun to watch.
The unfortunate part about that is that K1's going to have to blitz in order to.
Yeah, that's another one too. Yeah.
No, but what the whole point that the Niners like Jimmy Ward is that you can blitz K1 Williams and bring Jimmy Ward right down and have him there covering man-to-man and just as well, right? That's the whole point of Jimmy Ward. So let's see Jimmy Ward in coverage too, because we ain't going to see him making plays in center field, and apparently that's okay. I'm still trying to get my head around that, but great. Okay, Jimmy, go do your thing in the slot.
With Tart out, they should definitely run some more dime.
Is Tart out? Tart was limited.
He's not necessarily out. He's limited.
He might be coming back.
You're right.
So we'll see. I want final topic on this game, and then let's go big picture because there's a lot of interesting topics, big picture. But this game, pick a winner and say why.
I think the 49ers are going to run the ball a lot, and I think they could win as long as they stick to the run. If they get out of their element like last week and in their previous losses, then I think it's an easy Packers win, similar to what Seattle did last week to them. But if they run, I think the Niners will win. My score prediction, it's out there, and it'll be wrong, I'm sure, but 31-21 49ers.
Oh, wow.
I think Hasty gets a lot of touches. I think the Packers have a really bad defense, and besides Jair Alexander and Za'Darius Smith, they don't have any way to stop anyone. So if the Niners run like they did in the NFC Championship, they can't stop the Niners.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the issue. The Packers could just have Jair Alexander, Shadow, Brandon Ayuk all game. And then who's going to be your second wide receiver? Trent Taylor? Okay, well, Kevin King's a pretty good corner.
Out. Kevin King's out.
Oh, he's out?
Kevin King is out. Yes. I know it's a tough year. This is what I'm here for, baby. This is what I'm here for.
This is why you get paid the big bucks. Thank you. Thank you. But, okay, well, if it's not Kevin King, it's going to be their other corners. How you beat those other corners is on vertical routes. And they don't really have that wide receiver there to do that. Trent Taylor's not getting vertical for you. James can, but how healthy is he going to be? That's the question.
We'll find out.
How dare you doubt Richie James Jr.?
I like Richie James. I would like to see him get more snaps.
He'd have to be cut off at the hip to not have
Middle Tennessee. I know about him. And his backflips are amazing at the end of the game.
I'm just playing.
Leo's from Middle Tennessee. That's why.
Yeah. That's your first cousin, Richie James Jr. What's up? I'm just kidding.
It is. And so then, you guys always interrupt me, man.
I'm so sorry.
Jose. Tease you.
Mute him. Thank you. And so then, with the 49ers, yes, that's the key to beat the Packers is you got to run the ball. But the major issue here is there's no Kittle for the outside zone block. And now you're asking Ross Dwelley to block against the Smith brothers, which Ross Dwelley is pretty good. He's gotten a lot better than what we've seen him initially. But can we trust him for 4 quarters to block the Smith brothers on an outside zone scheme? It's not really going to happen. And then JaMychal Hasty, he's a good runner, but you want him outside of the tackles. Inside the tackles, the jump cuts aren't really there. It's going to be a lot harder. Thank you. And so I think it's going to be a real struggle on a short week with not much of a power running back. Your 3 running backs are JaMychal Hasty, Jerick McKinnon, tired legs, and then Walter, who is 5'8". So that's where they're going to struggle, is not having that guy just to pound this defense. And I'm going to go on forever. And
you're still muted.
You're muted now. I got the Packers in this one, probably 27-17.
All right.
Ooh, I actually want to get
10-point victory for the 7-point underdogs. Woo! Hey,
I think the Niners are going to win this one, like a 28-24 27 type of game, or maybe
Yeah.
I don't see any more higher because I feel like Thursday night games always end up in like either one-sided game or it's always a close because everyone's slow. I just think because they're just gonna throttle them with Hasty, and once Hasty gets established, then hey, here comes Nick. I have no problem taking shots because I have no trust in any. I have no trust. Excuse me. I have no reason to be discouraged in that Packers secondary, especially without King. Alexander's good enough. I think IU can actually give him some fits out there, and I don't think Mullen's going to be scared to attack Alexander, especially with the way he showed a strong connection once he got in with Ayuk. It was like, oh my God, he has a better connection with Ayuk than Jimmy does. Like, whoa. And then Dwelly, like, I know like Grant likes to be like, give more to Ross Dwelly. Like, hey, you're right, do give more to Ross Dwelly because Nick Mullen's pointed him out in his presser, and that's a player where he definitely has connection with. I just feel like it's just there for the taking for him. I feel like Thursday Night Magic is there for him so long as Shanahan doesn't call any like, what are you doing? Like, wow, I like calling Wildcat because this is a good play. Well, apparently not. So it's just I think they'll win this game. It'll be a lot closer because I don't have trust in the pass rush. But I still think they have that good coverage. I think it's going to be the 49ers there for the taking.
I'm going with the 49ers in this game too. And the reason is, if you go back and you look at the game in 2018 in Green Bay, in Lambeau Field, C.J. Beathard puts up 30 points with who were receivers that day? Pierre Garçon and Marquise Goodwin.
That's right.
Those aren't any better than what the 49ers are going to put on the field on
it's true.
Tomorrow night. And also, you know, George Kittle wasn't George Kittle really in 2018 at that point in the season when they won that game. He started busting out later when Nick Mullins took over. So I really like the 49ers in this one. Short week. I like what Mullins brings to the table and the ability to throw the ball down the field. And he's going to actually be able to – we're actually going to have a quarterback that's going to be reading a defense for a change. I really like this one.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm not concerned. I'm not as concerned about the Niners offense, even though they're missing everyone. Like, I actually think right now Nick Mullins gives them a better chance to win than Garoppolo because Garoppolo's injured and he's not playing well ever since – the game against the Vikings in the playoffs. I mean, really, going back to about then. That wasn't good. So I think at least you have a guy who isn't in his own head, is willing to throw the ball down the field. He's not perfect, but at least you got that, and you still have the run game. If they win, it's going to be because of the run game. I'm more concerned about the defense. They're going against Aaron freaking Rodgers, and they don't have their pass rushers. We saw what happened to the defense last week. If they get behind, I mean, they can give up 37 points because they're playing a bunch of backups. So if Jaquaski Tart comes back, that could help. I'm not saying it's going to be a high-scoring game because we know the Niners, their game plan on offense is going to be to run the hell out of the ball and try to keep Aaron Rodgers on the bench. That's the best defense in this game. But I think it's going to be really close. I think it could be I don't know, 24-21 Niners, 24-21. But I have zero conviction in that prediction.
Got to be old school offensive game for the 49ers. Feels like just run it and just
Thursday night football, pound it. And one more thing, schematically, like we saw, they really got away from the whole jet sweep end around thing. If Richie James plays, that's two guys who can do it. I mean, neither one is Deebo Samuel, but you can't abandon that part of your run game because it's what makes it special. More than even Kittle to me. I mean, it's great having Kittle out there blocking, but the whole misdirection thing is what makes the Niners running game them. And if you just give up on it, like to be like, hey, Jermichael, go get him, buddy. Like, what are you expecting? So
I'm the lone wolf here on this. Mm-hmm. I'm the only one that chose the Packers.
Well, and you're probably going to be the only one who's right. I don't know why I picked the Niners.
Like, I want the Niners to win, but I just look at it like we can compare that 2017 game. The Packers didn't have the Smith brothers. They didn't have Kirksey at linebacker. They didn't have Adrian Amos at safety. So their defense is a lot more upgraded. And I keep wanting to call him McKenzie.
But that same defense didn't do anything.
Jair Alexander is a lot better than what he was because I think he was a rookie in 2017. He was actually in college in 2017, so they didn't have him either.
The problem with the Packers defense. Oh, what's that?
Who was the 49ers starting cornerback opposite Richard Sherman in that game, though?
Greg Maben.
Yeah. Oh, corner?
And that's
Did you say corner or quarter?
He lost the game. He pulled a Brian Allen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
That
was worse. That was worse than
Dante Johnson.
Because the 49ers should have won that game, so that was worse than Brian Allen's performance.
Okay, let's move on. That's enough previewing the game. That's probably not going to happen. Let's talk big picture. And what is the question I want to ask? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Will Nick Mullins lead this team to the playoffs? Or is this season over for the 49ers?
Jack?
Predict.
We're gonna find out in the next 2 weeks. If they can go 1-1 in these next 2 weeks, I think they can. If they can pull off this win tonight or tomorrow night or next week against New Orleans, I think they're gonna have a shot.
Good call.
Ooh, okay. It's definitely a chance. 100% is definitely a chance because if you kind of just think about last season, Garoppolo only really won 3 games for them, Falcons, Cardinals, and Saints. I just think, honestly, so long as the offensive line is stable enough to help keep Nick Mullins protected back there, unlike the Eagles game where it just looked like he was getting hammered the whole time, then I think he's more than capable to stand in there and actually take advantage of those wide open receivers that weren't getting hit with Garoppolo back there. So I think they can definitely at least stay afloat with him.
Leo.
I think they could stay in the contention for the playoffs, but how I look at it is, all right, there's 8 games left. Mm-hmm. There's 2 that I'm going to automatically chalk up as victories. That's Washington football team, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. Other than that, those 6 games are really, really brutal.
Yeah.
As far as you have the Bears already at 5 wins. You got the Rams are up there. Like you have a hill to climb. So as much as I want them to be in the playoffs, because I'd rather write about a playoff team than a non-playoff team. I get more excitement out of that. And I just don't see it happening at the moment, unfortunately.
I think there's for sure 3 teams in the NFC that are better than them. In my opinion, it's the Seahawks, Buccaneers, and Cardinals. But the rest of the NFC teams have flaws. The Bears can't really move the ball offensively. Nick Foles is only good when he comes in relief in the fourth quarter. That team, and then the rest of the teams that are ahead of them really are teams they play. They have a chance to face the Rams again. And if Mostert's back for that, they should be. The Rams can't stop the run. So the Niners should be fine there. And then the Cardinals, they have a chance against when they play them. The Packers, obviously, this week. The Saints, which aren't a perfect team by any means. Michael Thomas hasn't played in a while. If he comes back, we'll see how the offense plays. But their defense has been bad. And then also, the Bills have not been good since the first 4 weeks of the season. Everyone's marking that Bills game as a tough game, but they barely beat the Patriots when Cam Newton hasn't looked good in a month. And the Bills are running the ball. Teams are playing back on them. Josh Allen can really only move the ball if he chucks it deep to Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis. And right now they're daring Devin Singletary to run the ball or Zach Moss, and teams are stopping them. I think 9 wins gets in the playoffs, and I can see 9 wins for the Niners easily.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're 4-4. They got to go 5-3 to make the playoffs because now 7 teams make it. Can they go 5-3? I mean, Kittle's not coming back. Garoppolo
Mostert's going to come back after this game.
Mostert's coming back.
You think?
Debo's coming back. I mean, they got to, like Jack said, they got to go 1-1 the next two games, but then they have a bye week. And then after the bye week, a lot of their players come back. And the way I look at the quarterback situation is, again, this year, the Niners now have their best quarterback on the field for whatever reason. I mean, injured Jimmy isn't good Jimmy. Injured Jimmy is atrocious Jimmy. And I don't know what week 1 Jimmy was. That was awful. So I'm not saying that Nick Mullins is going to be consistent or he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but I think that they finally do have the best quarterback on the field for this season. And he's going to have some serious help coming in a few weeks. So we'll see. I mean, they got to win one of these next 2 games. And if they do, one more point, if there's like massive COVID outbreaks during flu season and a lot of games get canceled, then they could go to a 16 game tournament where all of a sudden 8-8 teams make it in, 7-9 teams make it in, something like that. So yeah, this season is not over. They're the best coach team in the league. They're coming off a stinker. Let's see what they got this week. I'm not writing them off. In fact, I'm picking them to win. So, okay, let's talk Jimmy G because he's still on this team. And my question about Jimmy G is, do you think he's played his final game with the 49ers? If no, why? If yes, do you believe the parting is mutual? Or is it just the Niners kicking him out? Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo wants out too? That's the second part of the question. Who goes first?
I think it depends entirely on how Nick Mullins plays the rest of the year, because as long as I haven't seen if it's definitive, if Garoppolo's for sure out for the year, if it's just that 6-week thing. But if Mullins is mediocre and there's a chance for the playoffs, who knows if they bring Garoppolo back. I personally wouldn't for the rest of this season, But if Mullins plays really well, then that makes the decision easy of move on from Garoppolo, save that cap space. I know Grant would love if they went full on Mullins and got a younger guy to compete with him. But I think that it's probably Garoppolo's last season with the 49ers. I think Garoppolo's talented. Everyone here knows that I'm usually the Garoppolo optimist in this thing. And
which is important because he deserves optimism. He wins every game almost, except for this.
Yeah, well, and maybe it's to a fault because I've never seen a all-pro quarterback for the Niners, but I think Garoppolo is talented, and I think he'll be decent with another team, and I think Shanahan will be better with another quarterback. I think it's just a match that didn't work out this season for the two.
You're just a great backup, Maverick. You're hyping up your starting quarterback like that, even though you're going to take over.
That's big of you, Nick. That's big. Yeah. Leo. Hey, now you're there you go, Leo. You're up.
I love it. So at first, I'm going to hit on Jimmy. There's no reason why he would want out of the 49ers. You have Kyle Shanahan calling your plays. Then you have George Kittle. You got Deebo Samuel. You got Brandon Ayuk. There's no reason for him to... You're going to go to New England and get N'Keal Harry. Like, yes, he wants to be a 49er. It's obvious. And then with Kyle Shanahan, he's going to call the shots here. Unfortunately, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is John Lynch's guy, but Kyle Shanahan's going to have the final say, and he has a pretty good reason why. It's not politics behind it. It's, hey, this guy's limiting my offense. We should have won the Super Bowl. Hey, John, you and I should have a ring right now if we just had maybe 1 third down conversion. And you just got to go. You look at the cap. The cap's going down a lot more. You could tell just Jimmy Garoppolo feels like he's being babysitted. And Kyle Shanahan feels like he's babysitting him. So it's just a partnership that's going to have to come to an ending at a certain point. It seems like a divorce is there.
Yeah, I think we've seen the last of him regardless, because there's still that pending if he needs to get surgery, even though I guess they're saying on the side, oh, it may not be, but, who knows at this point. It's just, I just don't see him. And I don't think it's necessary that he wants out. But I definitely do think Kyle Shanahan's already at the point, like, dude, I'm just done. Like, he gives us the best option, but it's just like, I'm just tired of this guy coming to the dinner table, taking a bite and just leaving. Cause that's what he does when you leave those wide open receivers. It's just like, you're just leaving so much on the table to be had. It's just really bad. And versus, it was no coincidence when Nick Mullins stepped in, all of a sudden he's hitting those players down the field. And why didn't Garoppolo hit those receivers? So especially if Maverick said it perfectly. If Maverick plays great the rest of the way, then this decision becomes so easy. The salary cap's low, like Leo said. So, hey, that's more money we can get. So let's split that elsewhere, and let's just have someone decent, someone young, just go the rest of the way. I just don't see how he comes back at this point. Not unless Maverick just plays horrible or gets injured. Don't get injured, Maverick. I don't want you to get injured.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that the Garoppolo is done in San Francisco. I wrote that on Monday morning. I just don't see a reason for them bringing him back at this point with where they are with the salary cap that's going to be dropping down so far. To paying a quarterback $25 million and taking up that big of a salary chunk next year, you got to be pretty good. And right now, everything that they're doing is scheming around Garoppolo. And I would see, using Mullins the rest of the way does 2 things for him. One, it's either going to show him that they have a good bridge quarterback for next season, or he's going to fail and they're going to have a higher pick next year in the first round where they could possibly get the quarterback for the future. So that's the direction I kind of see. And then as far as Garoppolo wanting to be in San Francisco, there's been a lot of reports this week as far as there being some drama behind the scenes between the two as far as that injury goes. So he might be looking to make a change as well.
That's the way I look at it. Once it comes out that the coach has or the entire organization has questioned the quarterback's toughness. I mean, the report was that there was what was the wording? That there was a difference of opinion on the severity.
Like a rift on
difference of how they handle. There's a difference of opinion. Only one guy's in his body. Kyle Shanahan's up at his press conference yesterday being like, yeah, I had a high ankle sprain my senior year of college. He always wants to reference his playing career. Dude, you're not an athlete. Stop right now.
He's quarterback right now.
My goodness.
49ers.
So yeah, I mean, to me, this reminds me straight up of Mike Nolan versus Alex Smith in 2007. Maverick, you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It ruined my opinion of Alex Smith for 15 years.
Right. So what Mike Nolan did was basically say, you're hurt, sure, but if you're a football player, you play through this. And poor Alex Smith tried to play through it, hurt his throwing shoulder worse, had to get surgery, never really had the same arm again. And, he went on to have a much better career than Mike freaking Nolan. When Jim Harbaugh came here, the best thing he did right away was say, no, we're not getting rid of Alex Smith. He's been beaten down by bad coaches. All I'm going to do is come here and say, Alex, I'm Jim Harbaugh, and I think you're good. And how far did that go? So it seems to me that with Jimmy, what he can say is, you question my toughness? You got me hurt? Alex Smith, there was no recourse for him. For Jimmy, he can just say, you know what? We're on a year-to-year deal anyway. Just cut me. Let me go back to New England where Bill Belichick can say, hey, Jimmy, you're good. Don't worry about what's happened to you in the past, where he can pull a Jim Harbaugh and rehabilitate him. I think that might seem appealing to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he might want out as much or more than the Niners would like to move on. I think the Niners are still a little hesitant about moving on from him because what's the plan? It might be Nick.
Yeah.
They might get – they could draft. They don't even know what their draft slot's going to be yet. So I think there might be something from Jimmy's side.
And I think what's his name? When Shanahan said yesterday this presser, Grant, notice what he said, I know what I have with Jimmy, or I think I know what he has with Jimmy. That was like, okay. Then I think he starts to realize, why did I say that? Well, obviously you're gonna get better the more opportunities you get. So they're like, no. You know what you have in him and don't backtrack. And I'm sure that it kind of bothers him now. It's like, we're gonna have so much money in this guy and he's just injury prone.
So what should be mentioned about that same presser yesterday is when he was asked about the topic, Jimmy Garoppolo makes a certain amount of money next year, lower cap hit. Is he going to be cut? Is that something?
Right.
Most head coaches, when that's your guy, you're going to say, I'm not even going to entertain that question. Absolutely not. That is our guy. That is our leader.
Guy, right?
You get mad. You get frustrated for saying that.
How did you even ask that?
We're
just going to come up here and start promising? Yeah.
Shanahan instead, salary cap is a part of football, and I love Quan Alexander, but having to trade him broke my heart. And salary cap is just a part of the business. Salary cap is a part of football. That was his answer.
He basically said, yeah, maybe. I mean, what do you want me to say? You basically know. That's what he said. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
You guys saw the All-22, right?
I do have a thing on Garoppolo is just I think at full strength with the offense, the team, I think he does give the 49ers the best chance to win. But when there's a lot of guys out, with Kittle out, with Deebo Samuel out, you do need a Nick Mullins type quarterback, someone that will actually take shots, because you can't dink and dunk as much without guys that are going to make guys miss. Otherwise, you have 4-yard passes that get you 4 yards instead of 4-yard passes that get you 15 yards. And then the conversation about drafting a quarterback, I think Zach Wilson's a guy people want. Trey Lance is a guy people want, but I'm not even sure, even at 4 wins, if the Niners lose out, if any of those quarterbacks will still be there, even with 4 wins for the Niners. There's a lot of bad teams that are going to move on from quarterbacks this offseason. And I think the Niners have already priced themselves out. Unless they want to trade a lot of picks to move up to get one of those guys, I think they might have already priced themselves out for all of them.
Of course, Nick Mullins says you need a Nick Mullins.
Way to put us out on a positive note, Maverick. Thanks a lot. Mr. Positivity, Mr. Sunshine. Great. You're just saying that because you're Nick Mullins and you're like, hey, guys, don't just draft a quarterback. Maybe draft an offensive line. Maybe a right tackle. I don't know.
Is your grandfather in here?
What?
Is Larry in here?
Mav just said, I'm here.
All right, guys, that's it for today. We got to go find out if this game's even going to happen. What, Leo? What?
Before you go, we need your Jimmy impression.
Oh, a Jimmy impression?
God.
Oh,
yeah. Jimmy impression?
He
has a Jimmy impression?
Yeah.
Right, this is Jimmy Garoppolo. This is 2020 Jimmy Garoppolo, not 2019 Jimmy Garoppolo. This is 2020 Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I see it.
Is that not Jimmy Garoppolo? That's exactly what Jimmy Garoppolo does, right? That's what he does.
His future career is a toe tapper. That's it.
What is that, man? I'm tired. He's got to get a new look. That's Jimmy. Jimmy, that's you, man. I can't even do my Mike McGlinchey impression. My Mike McGlinchey impression involves me getting slammed on my back and my feet going above my head. That's the signature. That's Mike McGlinchey's signature move. That's
He's here. I'm here. Where you all at? Hey, we're still here.
I'm still standing.
I love that. No, you're not. You're on your back.
Not really. Yeah.
Not until DJ Reed saw you.
All right, I'm glad I could do that for you guys. Thanks for coming in today. We're going to do this again before the game. Theoretically, if it happens tomorrow, we'll have another special pregame version of the All 49ers Roundtable. Check it out. Take care.